reflecting back on especially the last year, it's really encouraging to see how much we've achieved, how much we've grown as a team. As I said, from what was a team of 2 or a pair of us to a team of 11 now. So it's good to almost be equal in terms of numbers to the trustees. So it feels like the team are really driving the organisation as well as just the trustees themselves.
Amazing how far we've really come. Very challenging times, but I mean, obviously things have now changed. We're a bigger team, and I can actually see how things have actually widened up. Projects are really beginning to work.
Part of my job is to engage with people at a national level. Across the water there, obviously we've got Parliament, and this year we've recruited 7 members of Parliament to be NSUN members, and about half a dozen peers as well, which help us to make sure that service users are involved in the new NHS systems. We also do that more directly. We've got a seat on the Ministerial Advisory Group on the mental health strategy. I was there yesterday, again pressing the new Minister Norman Lamb to make sure that mental health service users are involved in the new systems which start in April 2013.
The way that energy circulates in a system, whether it's blood or oxygen or food, and how we digest it in our bodies, you can make an analogy with how NSUN works as a system, because we have to feed it with information and people and ideas, and those ideas have to flow around the system in a very dynamic way, so that every part of the system, like in the body, every cell can receive the same kind of nutrients and the same kind of oxygen, so that even at a cellular level there's constant regeneration all the time.
I spent almost 10 years with big charities like the National Theatre, but I did not get the sort of thrill that I get working with these smaller charities that have a direct connection with the ground root, the people on the ground. So this is something that's very close to my heart.
My interest is in the support, the network support for carers in mental health across England. And with NSUN, for example, we're on the project to get involvement of service users and carers in all sorts of places. So organisations like Rethink Behind and London organisations particularly are very interesting to me, because if you can't hear, I'm a London boy.
My role at NSUN is to develop and strengthen the voice of those who access mental health services pan-London. My reason for involvement with NSUN really stems from my own lived experience of accessing mental health services. From that, I have a really strong sense of social justice. Another massive issue that we're dealing with at NSUN is to support the friends and families of those who have had to endure inquests into the deaths of vulnerable adults and people with emotional difficulties in police custody.
We also sit on the Joint Commissioning Panel, which is involved in looking at the structures of commissioning after the reforms take place next year. And this is a good spot in lots of ways, because it's got Parliament in the background, Whitehall beyond that. Over here we've got St Thomas's Hospital, and we seek to influence NHS professionals, because obviously our members often have a lot of contact with the NHS.
It's been a bugbear of mine for a while, actually, care plans, because it seems to me that what are they for, actually? There's going to be a little group, and again that would be great to have services involvement on it, but it's going to be a little group looking at what the care plan is about, and both in primary care for patients discharged from secondary services back to the GP, and the GP now has to do an annual review. What would a care plan look like that meant something to anybody?
So that's what I think the People's Network is about. It's about changing the way we look at services today and making them more inclusive for service users and having them so they have more of a say rather than the professionals having more of a say.
That was perceived as there wasn't the need for a crisis centre, and it was decommissioned. That was before our time. And I was thinking, well, I'm sure there is a need for a crisis centre, but it's how it would be run.
We've asked for funding so that we can look after a number of people per year. We've got staff who got trained and stuff like that, and we can also phone the ambulance, and we've got first aiders who can talk to people.
I'm a campaigner and an activist, and what I'm trying to achieve is to make a better world for people with disabilities. And I've been a disabled person or a mental health service user for about approximately 40 years, so I've got quite a lot of experience to draw upon. And one of the ways I campaign is to write a blog regularly on a website called Disability Arts Online. My main agenda is an idea called a new vision of disability.
I'm an involvement worker on NSUN's National Involvement Project, and what we're doing is we're developing service user and carer standards for involvement. So we're consulting with service users and carers who've been involved in various involvement work, like being on interview panels, monitoring, consultations, that kind of thing. And what we aim to do is to develop standards for meaningful service user and carer involvement. And then we want organisations in health, social care, voluntary organisations to adopt those standards.
Peer support is invaluable for people like me that have been through that system. For me, to promote myself, NSUN will give me the chance to get back out to work. Recovery. I need a purpose to get out of bed and a reason to get out my front door. 6 times out of 7 during the week I can do that, and the biggest reason is for that with my voluntary work, that I'm not committed to hours. In fact, I have a rigid system. I can do what I feel I want to do at my time, my pace. The biggest thing is I think that I've found myself.
We're here outside of the Royal Courts of Justice. This year has seen the Royal Courts grant permission for a judicial review of the work capability assessment. It has been argued that the process is unlawful and discriminates against those who access mental health services.
For me, NSUN's strength is all about communication, and communication's a two-way process. NSUN helps people share their experiences, can inform them about the changes in government policy, particularly important at the moment with the changes in the healthcare system. And it's an excellent resource for news, for everything that's going on right now.
The most fundamental part of NSUN's work is actually done on the ground, from the ground up, and that is from the members. Yes, that's right, you, the members. It's what you give to us and what you feed to us and want us to keep saying and talking about that keeps us going.
And really exciting to have the opportunity to plan for the future and look at our vision of becoming a really strong platform, a really strong voice for people with lived experience.